And it worked at 9 o'clock this morning. Yeah. You know, and at home, of course, but it always does. I was going to praise the tech guys, because I came here at, is English okay? Even fast English, good. I can do fast German also. I can't do slow either. I came here at 8:45 this morning, being, you know, a proper German, on time and everything, and they plugged in the HDMI and it worked. I said, bye, I'm off, I had something else to do, and now it is gefuckt. Okay, we'll try, you know what, let's just, okay, I'll do this. So what's going to happen is some of those pictures will look like Scheiße. The first German word, you know, S-H-I-T, Scheiße.
Okay, then I would say, start right now. Thank you very much.
The whole point about talking about type is that it looks like type on there. Now it's going to look like Scheiße. But, okay, it worked at home. My mother would be proud of me if she were alive. Who in here doesn't speak German? You should be ashamed of yourself. So because of you 10 people, 700 people have to now listen to me speak fast English. I could do this in German and you could learn something, because the pictures will be in English. Next time we do subtitles, Polish, Belgian, whatever. So what happened is because I brought the presentation at 16 by 9. You know, Fernsehen, TV, normal, modern, high resolution. This is what they told me. And in between, he went to 3 by 4. Now all the slides are abgepackt. All the type is all over the place, which is not the purpose of this exercise. Here, for example, see, that should not overlap. So forgive me, it wasn't me, it was him. The god of technology, whoever he may be. But I'm putting this up there because I'm not going to show you, all my work, because I'm way too old, there's too much to show and it's boring. So just take this one. It would be nice if I had sound. Do we have a sound cable here? I asked for sound earlier, but sound. Hast du mal Kraft? Lärm. If things go wrong, they go wrong. And as we also know, once they go wrong, they really go wrong.
You have tested 69 with sound plugged in, maybe it's working now.
That's a clever idea. I had no idea there was a... Well, the god of technology might well punish me for not having mentioned sound before. The thing is, sound is invisible, so he's having a very hard time looking for sound in there. Actually, you should look for a cable. I'm sorry I expressed myself wrongly. Yes, this is better. Wunderbar. It may work or not, well, who cares? You know by now that this is going to be improvised. The reason I'm here is because all of you, whether you do PHP or whatever stuff you do and you hack and you design and you do shit, is without me, you could all go home because you wouldn't exist. Because type is what you all do, right? I know there are images these days, but without Schrift, type, letters, none of you would have any work. You wouldn't work, where would you put your code? Invisible code? No, it has to be in type, right? So it's us guys that give you work. If the god of technology is there, we have a little movie. This shows some of the typists I've designed. It's very quick, don't worry, it doesn't hurt, 2 minutes, and they're done. Okay, it's a little on the small side, but never mind. Don't worry, it's over quickly, and then we get to the matter at hand. And I should also answer all the questions like, is there life before death? And who needs so many typists in the first place? They should all be answered in due course. And I should let you out of here maybe by 1 o'clock. I'm sorry, I'm between you and lunch. But I lost, 10 minutes here already? And don't blame it on the fact that I'm using a Macintosh. That's kind of like every other person here. In 2013, so I've been too lazy to do any more. So now, anybody here who knows anything about types says this is totally kaput and wrong, right? These should not 3x4. So forgive me, it all worked at home as it always does. So I'm going to be talking about, I'm not going to do what American speakers do, that they tell you what they're going to talk about, then they're going to talk about it, and then they tell you what they talked about. I'm just going to talk about it. This is what in German we call the Gliederung, which I usually do afterwards. So just to get this out of the way, who needs so many typefaces? Let me have a little test. Does anybody know this one? Jesus Christ, you use this every fucking day. Yes. Does anybody know this one? Oops, I went too quickly. See, this is what happens. Oh, go away. No. Oh, mother. Okay, let's start over. Oh no. See, now I'm totally out of order here. I wanted to make a point here. Let's try and make that point again. Okay, this point. Now, this is Aryan and this is Helvetica. Now, most of you can't tell the difference. Most of you won't ever know the difference, and quite frankly, none of you should care about the fucking difference, as long as I know. Because this is the space that us type designers, I mean, I don't just design type, but I'm here because I design type. This is the space we work in. We have about 5 to 10% latitude, because an A is an A, and if an A starts looking like, you know, a B, we'll be all over the place. We'll be fucked again. So, I should stop swearing, I'm sorry. I will not do this again. It's going to be very difficult, because those short words are practical. So, we don't have a lot of leeway, you know, as type designers. I do admit that I've been quoted to come out against Neue Helvetica, which as of yesterday, as you may have heard, is not the Apple typeface anymore. Now we have San Francisco, which is a kind of boring, Danish technical typeface. But I was involved back in 1983 to a redesigning of Neue Helvetica, which for some reason Americans call Helvetica Neue. They don't know that in Germany we have the adjective before the noun. I've been telling this for 100 years, but it's from some old database that has to have the H up top. You know, you couldn't do the H on the second word, whatever. So, so I'm guilty as much as anybody else. But luckily, now and again, a project comes along which is really cool. You've seen this earlier. We got paid by Mozilla. You know, the Mozilla are the guys who publish Firefox. They had a cooperation with Telefonica at the time, the Spanish company, for their own operating system, which I think is out and it may exist on 1 or 2 phones that you haven't seen. And the cool thing about this is, we designed this, we designed all the weights. It's called Fira, or Fira, depending how you want to pronounce it. It has Cyrillic, it has Greek, it has a monospace, 2-minute monospace versions. We got paid for it, and then they made a deal with Google. Now it's a free font, which I think is the best of both worlds. So you can all use it without paying for it, but I got paid already, so I'm not ripped off. I don't get a license anymore, so I think this is a free deal and a fair deal. I've got to tell one little story here. The Firefox guys originally wanted to call it Feura, F-E-U-R-A-F-E-U-R-A, Feura, and because it was Portuguese for fire or whatever. And I said, you know how you pronounce that in English? Führer? It's a typeface out of Germany called Führer. I don't think it's going to go down too well. And they said, oh, we never thought of that. These were guys in Portland, Oregon. They obviously they weren't aware that, you know, this was like, I didn't even know until some friends in London said, do we want to call this Führer? Do we need another one? So it's not called Führer. And of course, it looks really sharp on screen. It works really well, and I'm very happy that you can all download it. For a while, it was the hack. There is still the hack if you go to GitHub to replace Helvetica on Yosemite or Yosemite, whatever it's pronounced, the previous one. So you can have a decent interface instead of horrible Helvetica. The reason why we're doing this is mostly this issue here. That there are, you know, in an interface, there are certain letters that are difficult to tell apart. I mean, obviously, if you've ever tried to, you know, give in your password and it has a double L in it, or an I or a 1, you can't tell them apart on Helvetica. It's way too tightly spaced, and the letters aren't distinguished enough. So, you know, what we do, I put a little hook on the L there, so it looks different from an uppercase I. I might even put serifs on an I. 3s and 8s don't have to look alike. I mean, this looks okay here, but once you get down there, these become very difficult. And we're talking about small devices here, even with high resolution screens. I am surprised that Helvetica survived as long as it did on those devices. But if anybody here is an up-and-coming budding type designer, I warn you, this is my first check from International Typeface Corporation in 1991. That's $1.09. So don't expect to become a millionaire anytime soon. It would take you, well, it's taken me many years and I'm still not a millionaire, so I'm still waiting 24 years later. So, and the other thing about type is, I can let this run for about 8 minutes. If you design a typeface, you need about 200 odd characters for our alphabet, and about 400 if you include Cyrillic and Greek, and who wouldn't? But then if you do all the other stuff that people need out there, this is my meta as the science version. So it has a lot of dead languages in there. I mean, I know people don't speak them anymore, obviously, but people write them. And there's all sort of science symbols in there. There's 4,500 characters for each one of them, and there's 8 weights in there. 8 times 4,500, that's a shitload of letters. So don't start type design if you haven't got any time, because it takes time and it's way boring. Luckily, I delegate this, and a lot of it is copy and paste. So this says ED question mark, okay? How many fonts thingables it moved over does one need? There's a very magic formula, because people always ask me, who needs another typeface? And I have 13 bicycles. Who needs another bicycle? And I say, well, who needs another book? Who needs another song? Who needs, another movie? It's a very simple formula that everybody can agree is always one more, right? So you write this down, magic formula of everything in life, excluding maybe boyfriends and girlfriends, but I don't know. I'm old enough to stick with one wife now. I've had my N+1. Now this is a test for the Germans in this audience. The Germans should know this. I'm also giving you the color to give you a little hint. This is the typeface that makes one of the best known brands in Germany, and that's called the Deutsche Bahn. Deutsche Bahn, as you would probably call it, or German railways. So, some of you may know that, of course they have a logo, everybody has a logo, but more often than not, like if you see the train coming in, all you get is a color and the typeface. And if you look at their printed stuff, not every page has the logo on it, so we designed this large series of typefaces for them, which essentially brand the company more than any logos would, apart from the fact that the long distance trains are white or a very light grey with a red stripe, and the short distance trains, the regional trains, are red with a white stripe. That's, you can always also thank me for that. But that's the brand, makes it onto a typeface. And some brands, we carry a certain expectation. If you're coming from America, you would probably think this is going to be the German typeface here. But it's kind of like calling a typeface Führer. We haven't had this for a while. We have this now, DIN, which is kind of very boring, very technical. And if you look at the new Apple typeface, the one that's called San Francisco, it's kind of like DIN. Mess around a little bit. Actually, it's a cross between DIN and Roboto, the Google Android font. In fact, there is have you seen there is now a way to move Android apps over to iOS, which basically means over a few months they're all going to look alike anyway. So maybe Apple is learning from Google, maybe Google's learning, I don't know. So this is very much the German typeface. The first thing if you ever drive in Germany, it's white on a blue. In America, it's white on a green. Some European countries also. This to a German says long distance Autobahn. Fahren auf der Autobahn, white out of blue, in DIN typeface. This is our national identity more than anything else probably. More than anything that actually got designed. Now unfortunately type on screen is, as some of you may know, is really, really scary. These are screen grabs. It doesn't matter if they're out of focus here, they're out of focus on the screen in the first place. These are screen grabs from, as you can see, 9 different systems. I could have 100 different systems. Not just generations, but actually, you know them well, Google renders differently from Safari, Apple renders differently from Android, iOS renders differently from OS X. You don't often know what the render engine is, and even if you do know, we all build for different platforms, so making a good look on one render engine might look horrible on other render engines. We'll talk about the browsers in a minute. So the type designer designs this, and then, that's the perfect outline. But then you come up on screen, and you can't read this here, but that's 9 ppm, 11 ppm up to 14 ppm. So obviously, you only have so many pixels. So in order to emulate that ideal shape there, you've got to start making some compromise. From this, they won't look the same. So in an ideal world, the type designer would go back and redesign the typeface for each size, which of course, 35,000 characters for 4 sizes, nobody's going to do. Well, somebody could do, but nobody's going to pay for it, so it doesn't get done. And this is all because we have those three colors only, and we can emulate, we can move stuff around, we can have anti-aliasing there, so we can make do, and then with the technology, as you know, called hinting, where you kind of define where each pixel will go in a certain size. It's tedious. I mean, has anybody ever done hinting? Don't. It's the most boring thing in the universe. I won't tell you what else is boring, but that is really very, very boring. Luckily, there are some people, like always, who like this stuff. Amazing. Some people like really boring work. But we end up, this is the same typeface. I mean, I know you're far away, but this is as bad as it looks on screen. These are all simply different browsers at different sizes. So what can you do? Not very much. It gets much worse when a real designer, like me, a graphic designer, comes to you and says, okay guys, we have all these features in InDesign, or in Photoshop. Actually, the palettes will soon be the same in Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, which is basically what all grown-up graphic designers use. And they come to you guys, and you write code, and they say, but I can get this, I can get all these different numbers, for example. I can get subscripts and superscripts, and I can do small numbers and large numbers. I can get /O's and not /O's. I can get this in InDesign, and I can get different sizes. I can get old style numbers. I can get tabulating numbers. I can get old style tabulating numbers. We normally have 4 different number sets on a typeface, which are all in the font. And the only reason the InDesign guys get to it, because we have the glyphs palette, which is a nightmare, because it can have like 800 characters in one palette, and you can, by double-clicking, move it into your document, but you can't do that on the web. Well, you can, but it's kind of, that palette doesn't exist anywhere else. So how do you get all that stuff? This is one of mine. No, it's not one of mine. It's a typeface called Mark, and it has all these characters, and you don't even know they're there. Unless you open this palette, but then the designer will come and say, wait a minute, I want those reversed on figures, and then you struggle. Normally, what we do is, these things, hopefully, right? So that's shifted because of 3 to 4. This is Führer, tabulating. So you know these guys. So they do exist. You can get all-style figures. You can get small caps. You can get swatch alternates. I mean, God knows who needs them, but the designers, the graphic designers, especially the young ones, they read about this stuff, they want to try it out in real life, and they come to you and say, I want this to be coded. Just so you will understand each other, right? These are discretionary ligatures that you really only need if you want to make stuff look really pretty and old-fashioned, which some people love. And regular ligatures, then we have, as I said, 4 different styles of numerals, and some of them are useful, some of them are stupid, some of them are pretty, some of them are pretty useful. And well, we have small caps and we have alternates, etc. There's a shitload of those around. Now, I can't give you all of them, but I can read you some. Oh my God, this is okay. It goes on. You just go to Elliot J. Stocks. I don't know if people know. He's probably spoken here. He works for Adobe and /Typekit, and on his blog, he's got this is probably an old bookmark. He's got all the up-to-date versions there for various browsers. How do you get the open type features that graphic designers will demand of you? And so, does anybody ever use this? Optimize visibility? Good. It's rubbish. Well, it's not rubbish, but it doesn't, it only works, say, on Safari. If it works on Safari, it won't work on Chrome. If it works on Chrome, it won't work on, well, does any Internet Explorer? Thank God that thing is dead. Oh my God. You remember how many days we spent trying to get IE6 to be slightly working? Never worked. Even 8, it was like that. Man hours, woman hours we've spent getting that shit to not work is incredible. No, you can look this up, the font feature settings. There is a great resource, a website called caniuse.com. I'm sure you all know it. I know it's here. I promise you it's there. Oh, I should have a mirror here. Caniuse.com, and then it gives you per browser whether the features. This is, I think, an image from about a half a year ago, so it might be different. You see all the browsers here, including Opera and the iOS, Safaris and stuff. Which system renders what feature? And this is a moving target. This will be different tomorrow. It'll be different in next week's time. But this is the only hope that these guys keep checking on it. It's the only hope you have to get slightly towards a decent typography on the web. So we've talked about type, now let's talk about work. Just a couple of examples that I wouldn't mention any simply because I'm showing a few pages of work that depends on type to make the brand. This is Red Bull Music Academy, which is very heavily type branded. Music, sometimes it's nice to have a brand that is typography only. There's some, I think there's some more radio. We make all these things and they're all type basic. It's kind of nice, you know. This is just a regular website. This is a regular website. This is Site magazine. So you put little videos in there only to stop people, from, you know, to rest their mind for a while. So we do a lot of work that is very, very type intensive. A lot of online magazines these days, on newspapers. But I wanted to show just one quickly because I have to make a few principal points. And also, of course, this is black, yellow, and this is black over here. That one you can't see. This is the site for FontShop that we started working on a year and a half ago. That was the previous site. Now this is a database. If anybody in here knows anything about database, of about 300,000 products. Probably even more. There's about 100,000 typefaces in various formats. There's probably about a million actual product numbers that you have to get. And the process is, you all know the process. You put shit up on the wall and you discuss it, and you sort of hone in on features. And what we don't do very much is we don't do wireframes anymore. Wireframes are simply a list of things that we want to do, and we put them up on the wall, and that is basically our spec document. I don't know if anybody here does wireframes anymore. I mean, if anything, we do dummies in Keynote or something, and we build stuff straight away. We go to code the first day if we possibly can, and you come up with this sort of stuff immediately. You mess around a little bit, you try different colors. We print out a lot of stuff even when we design websites, and we sketch a lot also. I mean, those primitive sketches are way quicker than dummying anything on screen. I'm sorry I'm in your way here totally, but I didn't put this in. I didn't eat any breakfast, so I would be slim enough. So you know this stuff. I was surprised at how much we still print. So just a quick little overview. That should be a movie. They're good. I'm only showing this because it's a dream project for programmers, for coders, and our front-end coders who have an affinity to type, to show all these 150,000 typefaces with all their features, all the weights, all the varieties. It's a dream job, but it's also incredibly complex. We had to write our own renderer, because I mean, how else would you pull this stuff off a database live, online, and make stuff look good? These are all live examples. You know, you could actually add the numbers up there in this calculator. All these features that I mentioned earlier that InDesign designers normally find, you could find here. You have live performance. You can find all the stuff that's buried inside a font like this. Probably 400 something characters in there. So it's a lot of stuff, and there's a little in jokes. So you look at the designers from Mom Library, for example, and we asked people to send us their portraits, the designers themselves, and not everybody did. So what we did instead, we built these smileys from their own fonts. So these are all built in the font that these guys designed. It's not boring. I mean, and this is something, I don't know whether that ever turned up on the timesheets. I'm sure that somebody did this in their spare time because there's no way you can ever pay for this. But this is the dream job for a designer, that you can do the little things that you know. It's almost like an Easter egg. It's hidden in there and nobody knows but me, and now you all do, which is kind of cool. So that's that one. Now, of course, that's has to be responsive these days. And by the way, that's actually yellow in real life. So this is built by, we released after 11 sprints, and there were weekly sprints because we were in a hurry at the time. And then, you know, we spent 11 sprints before we got anywhere. And it was only 7 people because you can't have more people in the team. But one thing we did, and I think it's really important, I don't know if you do this, we don't always do it, but in this particular case, because there was 7 people involved, 3 of them came from the client, they came over to work with us, 4 were our people, the team changed. So we started with the style guide like on day 1. If you don't have a style guide, I found this yesterday here. The United website, I counted 30 different button styles on one website. Yeah. I had no idea. There may be So, you know, this is a button, this is a button, this is a button, this is another button, this is a button which is different from the blue button here. God knows, what are these people thinking? Because they didn't make a style guide. So everybody somebody goes in there and adds something or a feature or whatever, they can't remember what the previous guy did. So, what was that blue again? Oh, let's take whatever. What was that yellow again? Oh, let's take whatever. Did you have a button somewhere? No, they make a new button, which is really dumb, because if you make a style guide straight away, all the features are documented. And we had Spiros, our Greek, start doing it on the very, very first day. And it's very simple, and it's also a good control to the fact that what we realized a few days in, sorry, these are large clips that take forever to load, screen grabs. You notice after 2 weeks or so that you have way too many features. You realize you have small pictures, medium pictures, large pictures, round pictures, you don't need all of them. So if you go back over the style guide after a couple of weeks, you realize, shit, we should really clean this up and make it smaller, because we don't need so many features. So that's also a very, very useful thing about having style guides, apart from not having to shout across the room all the time, what was that yellow again, can you give me that tip again, or that EPS or whatever. Now, but what's more important, I think, than type and work is attitude, because these days I realize that we actually get hired for attitude more than anything else. So this is my magic formula, and in the previous presentation this was one line. And this, are there any Americans? I mean, US Americans? This is the proper spelling of ass, okay? It's a thing at the bottom of your body. Yeah, the one you spell it, A-S-S, is a female fucking donkey. So I don't get that, but that's how you spell ass, okay? Any Brits here? Oops. They don't travel like nicely, do they? They stay at home. But they can't drive on the right. So we have this manifesto, which we tell, can you read this from the distance even? Sorry, I thought it was all going to be a little bigger here. And we haven't done pitches for, I don't know, 6-7 years, not even paid pitches, because if a client asks 5 or 6 agencies in for a pitch, the client has no idea what he wants, what they want, or what they even wish. And then they go through the motions, they look at, they always just do some little sketches. They say, oh, you could do sketches, we build a bloody website, it's programmed. So they call it a sketch. And then they get 5 or 6 of them together, and then they realize they don't really like any of them, or the wife doesn't like any of them, or they don't like the blue or whatever, and they make their own out of it, because their son can code a little, or their grandson, because he has an Xbox, all that sort of stuff. So pitches don't work. If a client, we expect a client to make comfortable in Amsterdam, wherever our office is, spend a day with us. We give him the day for free, and then we know whether we like each other. Because if you don't like each other, you can't work with each other. Because we're talking about working together on large projects for a year or more even. And if those guys they think you're assholes or you think they're assholes, the work is not going to be any good at all. Because liking each other is a very large part. So having this manifest online, I think it's changed now that the illustration may have gone. I could be well to do another screen grab. Tells them what to expect, like pay us, because what we do is investing in your future. We make you look better, we make you look good. So we don't want to talk about, like, clients always come and say, well, we have this project, whatever, we want to do an online magazine, and what is it going to be? Give us a bold, American ballpark figure. What the fuck? I said, you have a budget, right? I mean, you work in a corporation, you have a manager, you have a boss, you have a budget. Why don't you tell us the budget? Because then I'll tell you what you're going to get for it. Instead of saying, ballpark, anything between 2,000 and 2 million, for Christ's sake. What's the ballpark mean to you? So we don't do this anymore either. Ask them for, every client has a budget. If they haven't got one, there shouldn't be a client, right? They're joking. So, do any of you still work in the good old-fashioned waterfall project? We still get clients who come in, especially the print people, but even the print we're trying to change. So they come in and they say, okay, we want to, either a website or a 16-page brochure, and do us some, sketches. So we make some sketches, and then it turns out, we can't really do 4-color printing. We have this printer, and he's been working for us for 35 years, and he only has a 2-color press. Okay, so implementation doesn't work, start over. And then you redesign it for 2 colors, 16 pages, and then say, we don't really have any copy. Can we just do pictures? So we start over, which is, of course, is rubbish. If a client hasn't got content, how can he ask us to do something for him? So this is, of course, the agile process. I'm not saying agile has to be Scrum all the time, and it doesn't always have to be agile. It's not the end all. But we expect the client, or we demand the client to have some content. Maybe not all of it. We have an idea, is it a lot of content? Is it smallish bits? Is it large bits? Are there long reads? Are there small reads? Is it very hierarchical? Is it just one large mess? And where does it have to live? Does it have to be responsive? Of course it does have to be responsive. Does it have to live in print and online, on screen as well? All those questions need to be answered before we even start anything. Otherwise we waste a lot of time and money, and the client's money. And of course you all know release early, release often. You know, everything starts over once you've finished already, as you know that. And the most difficult thing for me was, as a graphic designer, is to give up control. I'm so used to making manuals, you know, for A4 or A3 or A5 brochures, print the manuals. Mind you, they're always in some manager's shelf, still shrink wrapped, nobody really reads them. But we charge a lot of money for those manuals because all our knowledge goes in there. Well, we have, I don't know how many devices in the shop anymore, probably about 60 devices. Another 1 or 2 gets added every day. So how can you control pixel resolution anymore? You know, you make something for 920 by 780, and the next morning is 925 by 786 or whatever. So we don't know. And the next Korean, Japanese, Chinese company is reinventing it as we speak. The most important thing for me is, and this is not working for ourselves, but working with ourselves, is to not have ourselves in the company. When these guys, I want to tell you, some of those are front-end coders, some of those are graphic designers, whatever that may mean these days. When they started asking for sofas, you know, my German nest came out and said, sofas? You're supposed to work here. You know, you sit at a desk and you get your elbows rubbed off and you move your mouse around and you do this for 8 hours and you go home and do the same next morning. I didn't realize that by hanging out on sofas, they actually work better because they look at each other's screen and they make little jokes. They play football on screen in between, so what? Then the work gets done, and if the work doesn't get done, we don't do overtime either. If the work isn't done by 7 o'clock at night, then your business model sucks. So everybody has to go home. And what I like about these, I have 1,000 pictures here, it's very chaotic, and I can't even tell who's client in there. I think these 2 guys are clients. I know Andrea works for us, I know Oliver works for us. I don't know these 2 people, so they must be clients. But the great thing is that it doesn't matter anymore. You know, they come in and they're just like people like you and I, and you know, they have deadlines and they have sense and they have money and they want to go home early. So you treat them just like normal people. So oops. See, this is what happens when you go to 3x4. This is the word called transparency. So we found, if you tell the truth, if you say, look, we're behind, we didn't do this, our log doesn't show it, we can't do this, we need somebody else in there, you know, you work on something like Drupal, you've got to fly in some expert from God knows where. These people do exist somewhere, we only have one. But if the client trusts you to tell them the truth, and they tell you the truth also, you don't need those heavy spec books. I mean, people used to come in with like 500 pages of spec books. It takes you 2 weeks to read it, let alone answer it. So not anymore, let's just talk open about it and call bullshit. And you know, it's quite important to have a little bit of fun, I think. And just to remind you, this is the American spelling, the wrong spelling, but the popular spelling. And my last thing is, call the fucking bluff. We literally had a client who wanted us to do packaging for diet water. Diätwasser. I mean, can you believe it? There's a company out there seriously wants to sell diet water? Like, what do they take out of the water? The liquid or something? You know, what the hell? So, I think my life's too short to do this. So cut the crap, and you can go and have lunch now. Thank you very much.